Mabon, Mabon, Mabon. What is this word anyway, and why do we use it at this time of year? I'm Chris Hughes, and I'm going to do my best to explain the history and meaning of both the word and the holiday in under 6 minutes. Are you ready? So, it's September, and everybody's talking about Mabon. There are ideas for Mabon altars, recipes for Mabon food, but what is this word Mabon, and why do people use it to describe the autumn equinox? You probably know that the autumnal equinox is the day between summer and winter when the length of the day and night are equal, which brings us to what many modern pagans call the wheel of the year. 4 solar events, which seem to have been important to Neolithic people, and 4 festivals in between, which have been important to people in Western Europe right into modern times. Modern pagans started calling it the wheel of the year. There isn't much evidence that the autumn equinox was important to our Celtic pagan ancestors, but it probably was to our Neolithic ancestors who came before them. And there are a few megalithic monuments that align with the equinox sunrises, like the so-called Cairn T at Lough Crew in Ireland. But why is the autumn equinox called Mabon? That started quite recently, in 1973, with a fellow called Aidan Kelly. Aidan was involved with Wicca, which was founded in the 1930s or 40s by an Englishman called Gerald Gardner. In the 1960s, Kelly helped found an American version of Wicca called the New Reformed Orthodox Order of the Golden Dawn. In 1973, he found himself creating what was probably the first published Wiccan calendar. He liked those traditional names like Beltane, Yule, and Imbolc, but he thought that some of the other holidays needed better, snappier sounding names. So what should he call the autumn equinox? The story of Persephone fit the season perfectly, but the other names on the Wheel of the Year were all Saxon or Celtic, so he tried to think of a parallel. Nothing Germanic seemed to fit. Then he thought of an obscure god from the Welsh tradition called Mabon ap Modron. Like Persephone, Mabon was stolen from his mother and kept prisoner. His story had nothing to do with autumn or harvest, but the name sounded good, so he used it. The American Wiccan holiday of Mabon was born, but the Welsh deity is definitely pronounced Mabon. But hardly anyone talks about the god Mabon or honors him in their rituals at this time of year, so let me tell you the basics. Around the 1st century AD, we know the Celts worshipped a god called Maponos. There are a couple of shrines to him in what is now France, where he was mostly invoked for healing, and lots of evidence for a centre of worship along Hadrian's Wall in Britain. His name means literally divine son. That's son with an O. And as the Brythonic god Mabon ap Modron, he is known as son of the divine mother. He only appears in one Welsh myth, the story of Culhwch and Olwen. In this story, Culhwch is in love with Olwen, but her father, Ysbyddaden, is an angry giant who sets a list of seemingly impossible tasks for Culhwch before he can marry her. One of these tasks is to kill a giant magical boar called the Turk Trith, but the only way this boar can be hunted is with a magical hound called Dridwen, and the only person who can control Dridwen and take him hunting, you guessed it, Mabon ap Modron. Now Mabon was stolen from his mother at 3 days old and imprisoned in an underwater dungeon ever since, and no one knows where that dungeon is. After a long search, Culhwch, his cousin, King Arthur, and some of Arthur's men managed to locate Mabon's prison. They set him free, and he skillfully takes charge of the hound Dridwen and saves the day. And that's really the last we hear of Mabon ap Modron, although his name lives on near his centre of worship in the Scottish town of Loch Mabon, and a standing stone a few miles away called the Loch Mabon Stone, and of course in the famous collection of Welsh tales known as the Mabinogi or Mabinogion. So, to recap, we celebrate the autumnal equinox on about the 21st of September. It's the day when the length of the day and night are equal. Calling this holiday Mabon only dates to 1973, and sadly most people give no thought at all to who the god Mabon is. In fact, Many people don't even know that Mabon is the name of a deity, but now you know. So why not go on out there and educate your friends? I'll be putting up another video in a few days with more about Mabon and the story of Killich and Olwen. Subscribe to my channel and you can be sure not to miss it.